Welcome to Real People, Real Voices. I'm your host, James Jackson.
I'm your co-host, Pastor Wayne Moore.
Always a pleasure to host.
Man, it's always a pleasure. It's always good to be in your presence. And no matter what's going on, we've always been managed to stay in touch with one another. And I think that's what God expects out of all of us during COVID-19.
Yeah, we've continued to be able to be on, surviving COVID-19 and hoping that at some point this will be all behind us.
Yeah, we got to pray and seek God's guidance and wisdom and do the right things to protect our own lives as we protect others. Wear your mask, people, so your life can last. That's what it's all about.
And speaking of lasting, we thank God for this show lasting, due in part by our sponsors.
Lee Costello and Crawley, Fervent Care Christian Academy, Al's Modern Clothing and Shoes, and the Marion County Public Health Department have made sure that Real People, Real Voices comes to your household.
And we're very, very grateful. We also want to encourage you to watch this show when it's over, WHMB TV 40, as well as other shows that you might have missed. Mm-hmm. And please go to Facebook.
Because we're there. Believe me, we are there. I think we have over 200 shows there, don't we?
Yeah, well, there's a lot going on there that people can enjoy and becomes friends with us on Facebook.
Yeah, I'd love to have you.
Well, we've got the Marion County Clerk joining us here in just a little bit. Madam Eldridge, Mila Eldridge, is going to, well, Madam Clerk, as you have called her off air.
Yeah, I call her Madam Clerk.
Just a little bit.
Yeah. She's entering her second general election. And my thinking, this is going to be a very crucial one. And as we interview her, we'll see what directives she has opposed to the first election that she had from a general perspective.
So stay with us. We'll be back with much more. Welcome back to Real People, Real Voices. We're joined by the Marion County Clerk, Mila Eldridge. Welcome to the program.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Always good to have you on, and congratulations on your continued success and service as the clerk for Marion County. How's it going for you?
Busy. It's a very busy time, but it's also an exciting time. As you know, we are 63 days away from the historic presidential election, and we're living in times that we've never seen or experienced before, right? But we have an opportunity. We have a chance to bring about change, and that's exciting for me to be administering an election that can bring about change. We have an opportunity to elect a president and a vice president that I believe will care or be community driven, right? So I'm excited. I'm fired up, and my job is to ensure that Marion County voters have a free, fair voting experience, and to make sure that our voting policies and procedures are secure for the voters of Marion County, and that is what I'm committed to doing.
You know, Mila, you said something that was so phenomenal. Well, not phenomenal, but it was just so true. Thomas Jefferson in 1800, John Quincy Adams, 1824, the election with Abraham Lincoln in 1860, the Hayes versus Tilden election in 1876, 1912, Teddy Roosevelt, 1948, Harry S. Truman, 2000, Gore and Bush, 2016, Trump and Clinton. Those were, in the history of our country, most pivotal presidential elections ever. Do you feel, as a clerk and preparing a city and counties and townships to vote, do you believe that this is a crucial presidential election?
Oh, absolutely. It's critical, this election, and it's critical that we vote and participate in the democracy that serves us. Again, I think it's critical that we vote for or get someone to run the country that is community driven and not so business driven. I think it's important too that, again, historically, we will have the opportunity to elect a female African American vice president for the first time. That's exciting. So, of course, this election for me, I think, although it was great getting Barack Obama elected, and that was a historic election as well, but this election is more critical to me because of the shape that our country is in right now, due to the pandemic and just how everything is being handled moving forward. And absolutely, this election is just as critical as all the elections that you mentioned.
Go right ahead, Jack. You have anything?
Well, the folks who are listening and watching need to know that the voter registration deadline is quickly approaching.
Yeah.
Say more about that.
The voter registration deadline for this election for the state of Indiana is October the 5th, which is around the corner. So if you know anyone that is not registered, it's critical. This election, it has to be community driven. We've got to get everyone involved. We've got to get everyone that is not registered, and everyone that is registered needs to know how important it is that they cast a ballot, right? Whether it be in person, whether it be by mail, like I said, in person prior to election day or even on election day. But it's very important that first, that if you're not registered, that you need to get registered. And that's an easy process. You can register online at vote.indy.gov is the website. Or you can request a paper application from our voter registration office and register that way as well. But it's critical that everyone participates in this election.
Mila, first of all, I think I probably need to commend you on the fact that we're living in a state that has covertly done a lot, in my estimation, personal estimation, of voter suppression. There are 7 areas that I've studied as it relates to voter suppression, and Indiana meets every level of it. And I want to commend you for doing the best that you can to make sure that people have a right to vote. Just this morning, I went to the purging list to see if my name was purged, to see if I had to re-register. Because, you know, at one time, Indiana has purged over 500,000 from the rolls, and were caught by the federal government purging 20 other thousand. And so we're living in that type of situation. And then we look at, and then what I get from the community, since it's a community-driven election, is a lot of people are concerned about the early voting sites. They were wanting to double that when I talk to people. And we only have 6 this year: Marion County, Krannert, Lawrence, Perry Township, St. Luke, and Warren Township. Is there a possibility that we could get more, since this is going to be, you believe it's a community-driven election? Is it possible that we could get more of these, or has the die been cast on early election positions and places?
That's a very good point. However, I just want to be very clear on who makes the decisions, or who are the key players when it comes to planning elections for Marion County. And those are the major political parties. Actually have to come together and agree to the number of satellite, because you're talking about satellite locations and vote centers that we have on election day. So if you can imagine sitting in a room, though, or at a table, and you are going back and forth, just trying to make sure that we all will agree to what's best for the voters of Marion County. So to answer your question, we have 6 satellite sites, including the clerk's office. So it's 5 then, including the clerk's office. And we will have 187 vote centers.
You got 87 now, 187?
187. That's as of today. Now, also know that, like I said, going into this, a vote center can decline to be a vote center. They don't have to, under law, a facility does not have to be a vote center or a satellite location on election day. So some of them have declined, right? And we also had an institute come in and do a study for Marion County on what is the best way for us to accommodate our voters on election day operating as a vote center county. So what the results from the study is, what we found out is that, first of all, becoming a vote center county, you can go to any satellite and vote on election day. So you don't have to, you're not tied to a satellite location, and you're not tied to a vote center on election day. You can go anywhere. So at this particular time, the study showed that 6 vote centers actually would accommodate Marion County, understanding again that you can go to any vote center on election day. Now I will share with you that the hours for the satellite locations are the same hours that we have had in the past. Now, keep in mind though too, we are still operating under COVID-19. So with that being said, and even with the flu season on the horizon. So when planning, I'm taking all that into consideration, right? So to answer your question, the 6 satellite sites and having 187 vote centers on election day is actually, according to the study, more than enough for Marion County under the number of voters that we have registered at this time.
All right, Mila, and we want to make sure that everybody gets an opportunity to vote. We're going to have to talk more about it in our next segment, so everybody stay with us. We'll be back with more from our Marion County Clerk, Mila Eldridge. Back after this. Welcome back to Real People, Real Voices, and we're joined by our Marion County Clerk, Mila Eldridge, talking to us about making sure you get an opportunity to vote. And off air, Mila, we were talking about the voting plan. For those who are watching, want to make sure that they have a heads up as to where things are going to be taking place. Could you tell us about that?
Well, on election day, we will have 187 vote centers open from 6 a.m. until 6 p.m. And you can find the list of vote centers on our website at vote.indy.gov. Pastor Moore actually stated earlier the locations of our satellite locations for this primary election, and the clerk's office, which will be a satellite location by statute, will be open for the first day of early voting on October the 6th, and every day, including weekends prior to the election. By law, we actually have to be open on, I call it election eve, and that is the Monday before the election until noon. So the clerk's office hours and schedule for satellite voting is different from the other 5 satellite locations. So I just would recommend anyone that's watching, again, educate yourselves about the process. For me, this election and my team, I've told them that voter education and voter convenience equals voter turnout. And so that is what we are focused on, educating Marion County voters. I think we have pretty much covered the voter convenience, because voters will have several opportunities or ways to cast their ballots. But we need to definitely educate our voters about the process, and even filling out an absentee application. And, what happens if the election board doesn't receive their absentee application by noon on election day? Educating our voters about sign your application. The signature is critical. It's very important. Sign your ballot. I'm gonna be honest with you. Last election, I was very hands-on, and I learned that a lot of our, or I saw actually that a lot of our voters did not sign their applications, and they did not sign their return ballot. So for me, it's all about the next 63 days is educating our voters about just what we may consider the little things, so that their votes count and that their voices are heard.
We just came out of a meeting as it relates to that this morning, earlier, let me just say earlier, with 3 entities that have been working with community awareness as to getting the vote out. That would be the Baptist Ministers Alliance, the National Action Network, and the Concerned Clergy. They've come up with a program called the PVP program, since we're talking about community, and that is Personal Voting Plan. And we want each of our community constituents to have a plan when they go to the polls. The polls are going to be long, the lines are going to be long if you don't do a absentee ballot. They're going to be long, so you need to take a lawn chair, you need to take some food, you need to take some water, you need to do whatever you can to stay in line to get that vote cast. And so we're asking the community, in the state of Indiana possibly, to do the Baptist Ministers Alliance, Concerned Clergy, National Action Network plan, which is PVP, Personal Voting Plan. Personal voting plan to make sure if you are not an absentee ballotee person, make sure you have the right stuff to stay in line. Take your medicine, take some water, take some food with you. These lines are going to be long because of the lesser, because I don't know, Madam Mayor, I need to ask you a question. How many voting sites did you have in the 2016 election? Do you remember that number opposed to the 187 that we have today?
We've always had close to 200 or more vote centers on election day. The primary election was the only election that we've ever had 24 or 22 vote centers, and that was solely due to the virus. But I would like to add to what you're saying in regard to just voting in whatever method a voter chooses to vote, is to don't listen to the rhetoric. Don't listen to what you're hearing out there about voting is rigged or don't trust the United States Postal Service. Know that those are tactics, right? To suppress the vote, to get voters not to come out and vote on election day or early vote. Don't listen to any of that. Know that elections are secure, they're safe, and they will be fair in Marion County anyway. So I just want to encourage every voter to stay positive, and like you said, expect, because we're dealing with COVID-19, but I'm hopeful that even implementing the 6 feet social distancing rule, that having 87 vote centers on election day, voters will not have to wait 2 to 3 hours like they did when we had only 22 for the primary election. Since Marion County became a vote center county, we've never had voters have to wait more than maybe 20 minutes since we became a vote center county. So I am strongly encouraged about how we are going to handle a magnitude of the number of registered voters that we have. We will make sure that if there's a vote center that has high voter turnout, we will make sure that that vote center has enough equipment and enough workers to accommodate the number of voters that are registered in that precinct or that will be voting at that particular vote center. So again, I want people to get excited and be fired up and know that Marion County is going to be well taken care of, and just know that I want all voters to have a great voting experience on election day or prior to.
And we have about a minute to go, Mila. As we understand it, you're going to be making use of Lucas Oil Stadium and Bankers Life Fieldhouse.
That is correct. For the first time, Bakersfield House and Lucas Stadium will be a vote center on election day and will be open from 6 a.m. until 6 p.m. So that's exciting, and super happy that we were able to partner with those facilities because they are nice size facilities. However, though, that's great, but we still have 185 vote centers that will be open on election day. And so just because Lucas Stadium and Bakersfield House, which are located downtown, voters do not have to come all the way downtown to vote at Lucas Stadium or Bakersfield House. We will have 185, including those two vote centers available for voters between the hours of 6 a.m. and 6 p.m. The important thing here is inconvenience. And that's what I wanted for Marion County voters. My team and I, we wanted to make sure that voting is convenient for them. So that's why it was critical and important for this presidential election to have 187 vote centers and 6 satellite locations.
Well, thank you very much. We really appreciate. Always good to have you on the show.
Thank you. You guys be safe.
Okay, you too.
Bye.
Bye-bye. And you all stay with us. We'll be back with the rundown after this. Welcome back to Real People, Real Voices. I'm your host, James Jackson.
Co-host Pastor Wayne Moore.
And I'm your executive producer, Faith McKinney.
And what a wonderful broadcast it was to have the Marion County Clerk talking to us about making sure everybody gets in there to vote. Very important.
Yeah, and I like what you said about Mila Offset, an enthusiastic Democrat.
You can tell. But I think people need to know she represents all voters.
Yes, she represents all voters, but she has a preference.
Obviously. Faith, in the next few days, it's winding down. We will either have the incumbent president, Donald J. Trump, or we could have a new president, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, which would be our nation's first female and Black female to be vice president.
It sure will. I'm not gonna touch that right now because it's too what do you call that? Hot.
It's a powder keg.
It is. It's a powder keg, and I don't want to show that part of me on TV. But yeah, I'm excited. I mean, I believe everything is going to go off without a hitch. I think we'll be boom. Gotta go. Okay.